My name is Dawn Richardson Wilson. I once was quiet and hurt, and now I'm healed and heard. I'd like to tell you my story.
Where would I be without your love? Where would I be without your grace? Father in heaven above, all of my sins you erased. You saved me from a life of misery and rewrote my history. This is my story, and to you be the honor and glory, y'all. Resurrected, born again, no longer a slave of this world I'm living in. Broke the chains that held me down, I've been set free, so let me testify.
Welcome to This Is Your Story. I believe the most important statement Jesus ever made was this: you must be born again. That means you and I need to make a spiritual decision. Either choose the light of life or remain in darkness. Because Jesus said, I have come as a light into the world, that whoever believes in me shall not abide in darkness. My guest today has made that choice. For the next few moments, you will hear her story, a transformation from darkness to light, the moment she became born again. Let's meet Dawn. Dawn, as an Olympic athlete, I want to ask you a feeling question. Many years ago, while watching Wide World of Sports on Saturday afternoon TV, the sports commentator would voice over these famous words, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. As an Olympic athlete, how do those two make you feel?
I think sometimes when it comes to the thrill of victory, sometimes when you go to the Olympics, you go for gold in everything you do. You're prepared for this your entire life, so the only other option is victory in your mind. And I think it's when you think of victory, you feel like the years that you put into it, years, time, money, everywhere you've been, supporters, it's all worth it. You know that you've done the job well.
Now, what about the agony of defeat?
Oh, the agony of defeat is anything out of the top three. Yeah, I feel like sometimes being on the world stage, there's so much pressure and expectations, but then the reality of it is that there's going to be people who come first, second, third, and if that's not you, it's at the end of the day, it's not a victory. And so I think for myself, these past games was more of a, what does this feeling mean to me? Because I was hurt. I think you want to perform in anything out of top three. It just feels like I can't even go back home and show my face to people because they're looking for an answer that I can't give them.
Well, let's talk about your transformation story. Your family came to Canada from a war-torn country when you were about 2 or 3 years of age. And life was simple until the age of 6, when the unexpected happened. What happened?
So at the age of 6, I remember being in my apartment in Edmonton with my mom, and she was in the shower. And the next thing I know, I just hear this thud sound, and I go, and she's just there, laying lifeless as water's hitting her. And then from that moment on, things just, if you've ever watched a movie and you just see snippets of scenes, that's kind of what the next few hours look like. It looked like 1 second I was at home, 1 second I'm now with an aunt, 1 second I'm now at a hospital, and then next second I am looking at my mom in her coffin. And as a kid, I realized that from that moment my life is gonna change drastically. I didn't know how, but I just knew this person, my main support line, is gone. I was very outgoing, very bubbly, very social. After she passed, I was more introverted. I became isolated from everyone. I went a little mute, in which I didn't really speak. I wasn't as bubbly. I didn't have the social skill that I once had, where I would purposely choose to stay by myself. Maybe it was out of fear that everybody knew my story and everybody felt pity for me, and I didn't want to be looked at in a sadden or a pity way, or I wanted to let people know that, you know, it's hard and I wanted to have a place to express myself. But I think due to the passing and not really understanding how to really express myself, I decided that it's better to kind of stay quiet. And my sister-in-law would describe it as she would be speaking to me and I would just like stare at her, stare back at her as a blank wall, and I wouldn't respond. I'd just be like no emotion and just don't say anything.
The loss of your mother, even at a young age, it turned you away from God. Why?
People around me used to describe God as loving. He cares. He is always watching over you. He wouldn't do anything to hurt you. But then as a child, when you do lose somebody so close to you, you start to wonder, is he everything that people say he is? And then you're like, he's not this. He's not this. He's not this. He's not this. So I didn't want anything to do with him. I didn't believe that a God who is loving could take such an important part of my life away from me. And I think that ultimately was the reason why I refused to accept him into my life.
About a year later, then at the age of 7, you lost your biological dad as well. He passed away. So at this point, you lost your mom, you lost your dad, you were adopted by your brother, and you had moved to a brand new country.
Yeah.
Did you ever become angry?
I was angry all the time. Everything made me angry for no reason. There was this kid at school and he was picking on me, and I'm not this person anymore, thank goodness, but I started to maybe punch him a little bit, and I continued, and I got in trouble and I got suspended. And I could just remember the look on my sister-in-law's face of the disappointment, because it's like that wasn't a good way to express what I was feeling, but that was the only outlet that I had. So I think anger came more naturally to me than grace came, than happiness, than sadness. It was the biggest emotion that I was fully able to comprehend.
Words can trigger our emotions and arouse unwanted feelings. Imagine the pain of hearing a person tell you, "I don't want anything to do with you," and not know why. Did you ever feel abandoned?
I did feel abandoned. I felt like I was in this world kind of alone. I was getting used to the cycle of disappointment and the cycle of abandonment and the cycle of loss. And I think even just being adopted into a family, I was waiting for it. I was anticipating, one day, these people are going to not want me. One day these people are gonna leave. That was so ingrained in me by everything that I went through that I was like, when is it gonna happen? It's gonna happen. I just don't know when.
Now, your journey into becoming a world-class athlete found its roots in elementary and high school. And you found this new family, and this family was the world of sports. How did that open for you?
It started right on the field of St. Lucie Elementary by a small game of tag. I was that kid who was really quick and nobody wanted to play tag with me, and I couldn't understand why. I'm like, isn't this the point? So then I went on to be on the track team and then the basketball team, and found out that I was kind of good at sports and I kind of liked it. It took me away from the reality of my life, which was go home, be sad, be angry, be whatever was negative. It gave me a positive outlet to just be myself, or discover a new part of myself. Yeah.
Now, amidst this new and exciting family that you had, the world of sports, you did mention to me that at times, even when there was so much joy in that world, that deep-rooted anger would surface at various times. And I remember you saying to me, it often was directed towards God. And I wanted to ask you, why that? Why him?
For me, it felt like if you're always present and you have like this ability to change the course of my life, you know what I mean? In this moment, why don't you? And I'm just like, I was angry because I felt that he could have interjected and was choosing not to. I didn't understand that, you know, diamonds grow in under pressure. I didn't understand all the things that I learned through sports and through reading my Bible now, and I was just so stuck on, yep, you're the one to blame. You're the easiest person to blame because up to this point you have done nothing. So
leaving high school and getting into university, you were introduced to the world of bobsledding, of which you excelled, and of course you represented Canada in 2 Winter Olympic Games. Going back to the times that you were training for your sport, and I think around the age of 18 or 19, there were certain trigger words that when spoken would, again, arouse these unwanted feelings that you had. Can I ask, what were those trigger words, and how do they actually make you feel in acting out the way you did?
yeah, a few of the trigger words would just be along the lines of like, I want nothing to do with you, or just things that basically relate abandonment or some sort of like, you've overstayed your stay and now it's time to leave. I think those words just like created that trigger in me because I'm like, why am I so easily thrown away? You know, I think like it made me realize that the moment that I've been waiting for and expecting had finally came, to which like when I was a kid being like, at any point they're going to not want me anymore. And I think once that word was said, my brain went to like, I know that that was a thing back in the past, but I thought we came so far to this point that maybe that vocabulary wouldn't be uttered or just like spoken. I thought we've got into a relationship where you see me as a permanent daughter or a permanent girlfriend or just something permanent, you know, not something easily thrown away. So I think like that trigger word brought me back to the little girl that I was trying so very much to escape and just like rewrite her story. So yeah.
Divine moments don't come often enough, but when they do, Jesus said, I stand at the door and knock. Will you let him in? Dawn, you were living with your sister, and one particular day you're feeling triggered by some of those words that would arouse all these terrible feelings. And you're driving in a car, and all of a sudden, a song comes on the radio. It's a gospel song. And when you heard it, something unusual happened. What took place?
I feel like apart from my mom passing, that moment was probably the second moment when I felt like at my lowest. And I just remember like no one to turn to. I just remember like, what is next? Like I just ended a relationship. My relationship with my sister-in-law / adopted mother wasn't going good. And I was like sleeping on my sister's couch and bouncing from jobs. And I just remember feeling in total like distress of I'm calling out to help and there's nobody here helping me. And then all of a sudden the gospel song comes on. It's called This God Is Too Good. And I don't even know how it came on because I don't remember putting it on the radio. I don't remember changing my station, but I just felt the presence and the comfort and the reassurance that he was with me this whole time. I chose to turn away from him. So I think that moment kind of started the journey of who are you and what is this relationship that you're trying to build with me?
Now this faith journey continues into your 2022 Winter Olympic competition. But it's also during this time you're having this major spiritual struggle that's going on. And the issue was you were finding it hard to surrender. That issue of surrendering to Jesus, why?
I think I was finding it hard to surrender to Jesus because I had a lot of trust issues, and I was so stuck in this cycle of it's not gonna last that I couldn't believe that after I've abandoned him, I've turned my cheek away from him, and I closed several doors, that he would now want to come and find me. He would now want to connect with me and form that relationship. I was like, what did I do to deserve your love? And I think we can sometimes get stuck in that cycle of this was who I was, and I can't come to Christ as that because it's like he's Christ. He should get my best, he should get the fullest of me who earnestly loves him. And I think I was at that point where it's like, I didn't give you that. So why are you trying to now seek me? Why are you now trying to love me? And is this love temporary?
Dawn walked into a church and for the first time, with tears flowing down her cheeks, cried out and said, "I need Jesus." Listen, in his presence there is fullness of joy.
That moment was different because I think growing up, I was church hopping. I was trying to find my place, and each place that I've been to gave me this uneasy feeling. But then when I discovered BP, I walked into one of the services and I sat by myself, which can sometimes be intimidating. But I found comfort in I didn't feel alone when I was there. And I just remember during worship just starting to cry, and I'm like, oh no, I'm that person now that some kid's looking at who's this crazy lady, why she's crying? And I just felt okay, you've reached me. I'm no longer going to be putting up a front or closing the door. I wanted more. I wanted to know him more. I wanted to develop my relationship. And at that point, I realized that yes, I lost my mom. Yes, I lost my dad, but I gained a father who has been there every step in the way. And it was amazing to see the memories that unlocked from childhood onwards, that he was there, but I chose to look away. And I think understanding that he leaves the 99 to find the one, and I was that one that he was searching for. And I think that's a beautiful representation of he loved me wholly as I continue to live in sin. I continue to disobey him. I continue to do my own thing. I continue to be imperfect, and he still chose to find me, and he waited and patiently waited, and now he's found me.
You mentioned now you have a father. Mm-hmm. You mentioned what experience, being in church and the tears coming. And I'm interested, was there a moment that you can remember where you just simply said, Jesus, I surrender. Come into my heart, my life. Was there a moment that you can remember when that actually happened, that everything changed?
Yeah.
It's the switch turned?
I could just feel that the tears that I was crying was different. It felt like a scream to heaven. Father, help me. I actually, if I could kneel at that moment, I would have been kneeling, because that's just how, willing I was to say, I'm yours. He just transformed me from there.
That would have been the moment you would have been born again.
Yeah. I didn't really understand what it meant to be born again. Obviously, you see people in church, you see people who've always been Christians. So for me, being in that new space where I have to be, or I get to be born again, was a different experience, because I didn't realize that the changes that God was doing eternally was being noticed by people on the outside, people around me telling me you're different. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm different? They're you're changed, you're not so quick to get angry, you are more calm, you're more compassionate, you have a lot of grace for others. Like, why is that? I'm like, that's a great question. I was so focused on what God was doing that I didn't realize that other people were seeing a different version of me. And I think that's the coolest thing. It's like, wow, this actually is something that happens and people go through, and I get to experience it.
Dawn, you told me that you were proud to be a Christian. And I wanted to ask, what did you mean by that?
I'm proud because my identity, I'm no longer searching for it. I know who holds my heart. I know who created me and who made me who I am. And I think like that's something to be proud of, because I'm no longer searching for external love and validation. I'm like, if you don't love me, if you don't accept me, I have a Father who loves and accepts me. And I think like that in itself is something that I've been searching for my entire life since childhood, and finally finding that, just, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Like my guest, you have a choice to make. Jesus made it very clear. You must be born again. How? It's very simple. If you open your heart and believe that Jesus Christ is Lord and that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. So I invite you to open your heart and believe. Jesus can and will change everything. If you would like to talk with someone about your decision and have them pray with you, then please call our 24/7 prayer line at 1-866-273-4444.
Matthew 18:12. If a man owns 100 sheep and one of them wanders away, will he not leave the 99 on the hills and go to look for the one that wandered off? If he finds it, truly I tell you, he is happier about the one sheep than about the 99 that did not wander off.